is a big TBR, by the way. I'm not reading all of these books in just a few months, but we will see. Hello and welcome to Prag Mastery. I'm Dre. I realized I wasn't saying that in videos and people may not know who the heck I am. Anyway, welcome. I hope you're having a good day or night wherever you are. This is my spring TBR. This is kind of what I'm hoping to get to essentially before my baby is born. But I also have most of these books on audiobook for in case she is born. So hopefully I can get to some of these. How it's going to be organized is I'm first going to tell you what I am currently reading, and then I will tell you what I plan to for sure read, and then I'm going to give you some options of things that I'm just excited to read, but I probably won't have time to read, but they're itching at me. They're calling me from the bookshelf, if that makes sense. So that's how this is going to be structured. If any of these books are something you've read, let me know down below so that I can prioritize them. Let me know your thoughts on them, but no spoilers, please. If you have any content warnings for any of these books that you'd like to share because you've read these or you've done research, please also leave those down below. I will leave as many as I can find for each book, but I haven't read them yet, obviously, so I don't know all of them. So if you happen to know them, it would be really helpful for other people if you could leave them down below. Also, let me know what books are on your spring or April or May, if you have a specific month that you do, TBR. If you're a mood reader like me, just tell me what you're currently reading. But let's see how this goes. This is currently just what I'm in the mood for, and you'll see there's a little bit of a theme. So yeah, let's just get into it. So the first book I have is These Violent Delights. I am currently reading this. This is by Chloe Gong. This is a historical fantasy retelling. It takes place in glittering Shanghai where a monster awakens. There's a plague style situation going on. I am about halfway into this currently. I need to finish this before the end of the month because I am reading this with the TBR book club on Instagram. So if you are interested, our book next month is my next book that I'll be sharing because it's a book that I'm not currently reading, but I'll be definitely reading it because book club. But anyway, this is supposed to be a fantasy historical retelling of 70s Shanghai, which is such an interesting setting. It's very beautiful so far, and our main characters are ex-lovers from rival gangs in Shanghai, and yeah, it's a mixture of cultures. It's got, I think, a literal dragon is going to show up at this at some point, and that sounds intriguing to me. So far I'm really liking it. It opens on a lot of action and gore, so do be aware of that. There's a lot of self-mutilation based on how the plague works, and yeah, the intrigue is high. I'm only halfway, so this is something that I'm currently reading and I need to finish before next month, but if I don't, this is the top book on my priorities. Next is our next book club pick for the TBR book club, which is Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. This is our book for April 2021 for the TBR book club, and I am thrilled about this. I nominated this book actually, and I'm really surprised that other people want to read it. So excited. I'm running the prompts and discussions for next month for this book, but I will also have some help from other hosts, so that's going to be a lot of fun. It's our first month of the book club doing more than one host, so that's going to be exciting, and we have some fun things planned. This book is, I don't know much about it. I saw the synopsis and I knew I had to have it, and that's how this happened. I know it's basically a prince and a count, and they are basically part of this space opera story, and based on their separate planets, they have to marry to join the planets together politically, but the prince doesn't want to marry, and the count is suspected of murdering his last spouse. So there's something there going on. They have to navigate court politics, and this is a male-male romance, it seems, which sounds just too much. This queer literature in space thing going on in the publishing world right now is everything to me. So I just feel it. So this is one of them. And we are reading this as a book club, so it is a for sure read for me, coming up next month. So that's exciting. Next we have, as Books with Emily Fox would call it, the pile of shame. These are books that I've started and have not yet finished, but I kind of am not actively reading them, but I'm kind of actively reading them. So the first one I have is Ascendance of a Bookworm. I am a quarter of the way through this. I started this last month and I like it. I think it's cute. It's a light novel, a Japanese light novel. Yeah, I'm actually currently reading this. I just had to kind of put it on the back burner for a second because I need to finish these Violent Delights, and I've been procrastinating just a tiny bit on the book club pick. So I had to put this aside just for logistical reasons, but this will probably be one that I pick up pretty soon. I don't have this on audio, so I do have to physically read it, which is why it's taking me so long. This is essentially an isekai, if you know what that means. If not, an isekai is essentially a trope in Japanese storytelling about characters who live in our world who are transported to a new world, and I believe isekai literally translates to other world, if I'm not mistaken. It's about a girl named Urano who is obsessed with books. She is a college, university student, and she ends up dying suddenly. It happens in the first chapter, that's not a spoiler. And she's reincarnated as a 5-year-old girl in a fantasy world where she's discovering that books may not be as available as they are in her original world, and that is devastating to her because she loves books. Like, if you love books, you will probably relate to so many quotes in this book like I am. Although I do have to give a warning, this is pretty light and whimsical, but there are a lot of discussions about the darker side of humanity, like poverty specifically. So do be aware of that. It has some darker tones, which was surprising to me. I didn't expect it, but it is still quite whimsical. So yeah, light novel, pretty short. I hope I can get to this pretty soon because I want to watch the first few episodes of the anime. Okay, next is a very shameful book that's still on my TBR, which is Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. I literally only have about 100 pages of this left, and I have it on audiobook, I have it physically, and I could get it as an ebook if I wanted to. I'm just not ready for it to be over, and I, for that reason, have been procrastinating to finish this. These books are very heavy, I would say, emotionally, and they are character driven, and you will love these characters. And when you predict something is going to happen, it is very hard to keep reading because it's character driven. You feel for these characters. And I was reading this book when a character in it got pregnant, and I at the same time got pregnant. So I stopped reading out of fear of what might happen. So I need to pick this back up and just finish out those last 100 pages, but shamefully I just haven't. And I've been reading this book for a year now. Don't look at me. Anyway, this is the second book in a old high fantasy series written by Robin Hobb. This is the Farseer trilogy. It is very heavy. If you are not a fantasy reader, I don't know if you would like this. It is quite heavy. It's adult. There are a lot of adult themes. There are trigger warnings that you will need going into this that I didn't even know until I was reading it, and then I was like, oh, would have been nice to know that was going to happen. So I should have done my research before reading it. I just fell so in love with the first book. It didn't occur to me. Second book, a little more triggering than the first. Yeah, I love this series a lot. Probably gonna give this 5 stars, even though it's taken me a year to read it. It has nothing to do with the book. The book is amazing. It's all on me not being ready to let go. Next, I have a book that was part of a buddy read, and the buddy did not like it and stopped reading it, which is totally fine. DNF books you don't like, please do it for yourself. But I was very much enjoying it. I just got distracted. I have the audiobook for it once again, and the ebook, I think, and the physical book. But this is Priory of the Orange Tree. It is a very beautiful book, but it's also massive. As you can see, it's very heavy. But I'm enjoying this. It's an adult fantasy standalone. It's massive. I've heard really great things about it, and I've heard not so great things about it. I was almost 200 pages in when I just kind of, for some reason, stopped reading it. I don't really know why. I was liking it. I was enjoying it a lot, and I want to continue reading it. I just haven't for some reason. So yeah, I started reading this in December. So it hasn't been as long as Royal Assassin, but it has been a while. Oh, and this is by Samantha Shannon, and I believe there's supposed to be a female-female romance in this, so that's exciting. I haven't seen it forming yet. None of our characters or POVs have converged at the point that I'm at, but yeah, I'm really excited. I'm enjoying it so far, and I read that first 200 pages pretty quickly, so I really need to get back to this. So that concludes the books that I'm currently reading, and the for sure read, 100% gonna read. Now we're just on to books that I'm looking forward to, that have been, you know, looking at me from their place on the shelf and begging me to stay up all night, and hopefully I can give them the love and attention that they need. First, this actually kind of counts as a currently reading, but the Murderbot Diaries. This is a series of novellas. I believe one of the later books or 2 of the later books are longer than a novella, but we'll just ignore that for now because I only own the first 4. I've read All Systems Red, and I currently have the audiobook checked out from the library for the second book, which is Artificial Condition. I'm about an hour into it. It's a 3-hour book, so that puts me at like a third of the way through, and I'm really enjoying it. It's a very short and easy audiobook, which is why I'm also listening to it in addition to all of these current reads, just because I know I can finish it in just 1 or 2 sessions. I will be trying to finish out the entire series through audiobooks through my library over the next season. I may not get to all of them. I may only read the one that I'm currently on. Doesn't matter to me. This series sounds great, and I enjoyed the first one enough that I know that this whole series is on my current TBR. So yeah, Murderbot Diaries. It's about a non-binary Murderbot sec unit that basically is a murder bot. They are designed to murder things and protect humans, and our murder bot really has a lot of anxiety and doesn't like humans very much and would rather not do their job. They would rather watch media like sitcoms all day than do their job, and it's relatable. I never thought that I could feel so connected and seen through a non-human character, but yeah, this murder bot is a really good exploration of human emotion. Take that as you will. Next, we have another sci-fi novella, Becky Chambers. To Be Taught If Fortunate is a novella. I believe it's about scientists who are exploring different planets and looking for basically like life on those other planets. Supposed to be character-driven sci-fi, which is very intriguing to me. I don't generally find that sci-fi is character driven. It's usually plot driven or setting driven. So it's very interesting. I basically just heard Books with Emily Fox talk about this so many times that I finally decided that I'm just gonna read it, and hopefully I can physically read this at some point because there are no audiobooks or ebooks free to me. I'd have to buy them, so sad face. But I'm pretty hopeful. Character driven sci-fi sounds cool. That's really all I know about it. So that concludes all of the books that I am most looking at. I am pretty sure these are the highest on my list of books to get through, just based on how I'm feeling. Now we're just getting into the options, the ones that I'm looking at that I'll kind of pick from if I can finish all of these. Probably not. I've been very slow at reading, but now that the nursery for the baby is done, I do have a lot less to worry about while we wait for her to come, so hopefully that will lead to me reading. So let's get on to the books that I'm currently excited about but not as high on my list. I may get to them this season, but I wouldn't be surprised if I don't. So first we have Persephone Station, once again another sci-fi. I believe this is adult sci-fi though. I could be wrong. It's a very beautiful cover. Very beautiful. This is by Stina Leitch. I believe that's how you say that. I'm so sorry if it's not. I don't know basically anything about this book aside from it's supposed to be queer. We love that. Another queer sci-fi. Didn't see that coming. Just kidding, we did, because that's my mood lately. There's Rosie, who owns a bar for basically like mob bosses and convicts and stuff that pull off high stakes illegal activities. And then there's Angel, who's an ex-Marine, and basically she has a squad that Rosie hires, and they go up against possibly an entire army or something like that. It's supposed to be very action-packed, and it's space opera. So once again, thrilled about this. I don't need to know any more than how beautiful this cover is. Just kidding, that's shallow. I read the synopsis. I don't remember much about it because it was a while ago. I just knew that I wanted this book, and so I bought it. Now we're getting into books that I haven't bought so recently. These are pretty old. So we have Set Fire to the Gods, which I bought in August of last year, like a birthday present to myself. This is basically space gladiators. Once again, do you need to know any more? I'm just kidding. But basically there's elemental magic, gladiator battles, outer space. These two characters come together from different worlds, one for vengeance, I believe, the other to prove herself. Again, I believe it was a long time ago that I read the synopsis, but I am still very excited about it. All I needed to know was magic, space, and gladiator battles. That's all I know. And I'm in the mood for that, so here we are. Up next is two books that are part of my kind of mission this year, mission book box backlist that I've been doing with some friends over on Instagram, which is essentially the books from within book boxes, and trying to read the big backlist of them, because if you don't know, you receive book boxes every month and there's a new book, and if you don't read them, then they just keep accumulating. Each month you just keep getting more and more. For the mission book box backlist, Goddess in the Machine, it is essentially a woman's put in cryonic sleep and she wakes up way later than she's supposed to. She was supposed to wake up in 100 years, not 1,000. And she wakes up 1,000 years later, and society is very different, humanity is very different, and essentially everyone thinks she's some kind of goddess from within this machine, and she plays along because she needs to figure out what's going on and she doesn't want them to kill her. That kind of situation. There's another character, I believe, I don't know that storyline, but that's basically what I know about this book, and it's very pretty. So yeah, excited about this one. And then the other mission book box backlist that I'm looking at is Incendiary by Zoraida Cordova. I've been trying to read this book for so long. I've been very excited about it because I hear amazing things about it. I've never heard a bad thing about this book so far, and this is the Fairy Loot edition actually, which is why it's part of the book box backlist. But this is basically a revenge story, I believe, with a rebellion and taking down society and politics and whatnot. And it sounds great. And there's a romance in here, I believe. Yeah, I think there's an assassin that we follow. I don't really know much about this. I just know that it's fantasy, it's YA, and there's a romance. So, sounds great. The next two books I have are middle grade books that I've been eyeing up for a long time. First one is Nevermoor. I actually started this one random day at work last year, and I only read a few chapters or something, and I think it's still sitting on my Goodreads, but whatever. I'm not actually reading this. I only read a few chapters because I was bored one day. But essentially this is about a girl named Morgan Crow who was born on Eventide, I believe it's called, and essentially those kids are cursed, and she has a really crappy family. They're not very nice, and basically everyone hates her. She's set to die on her 11th birthday, but before her 11th birthday can even come around, she's swept away to some kind of school, I believe it is. I haven't gotten to that point yet. I've only read up to the point where we're seeing how she's being treated, and that's not nice. But so far, the writing, amazing. Seems great. This is by Jessica Townsend. I've never read anything by this author, but if it's good, I am going to read the rest of the series because it sounds amazing, and from what I've read, the writing is really good. So, love me a good middle grade, especially with a magic school. You had me. So, this one, looking forward to it. I believe I also have the audiobook of this through my library, so yay! And last but certainly not least is Frogkisser by Garth Nix. I bought this book a year ago. I don't know. I've never read anything by Garth Nix, which is really surprising since I love middle grade and I've been reading since I was a little kid, but somehow I've just evaded their books. I know nothing about Garth Nix books. I know nothing about what they generally write. I know nothing. But this sounded really cute when I saw it in a used bookstore, and it's very beautiful. This cover is like little gold accents, and it just looked really fairy tale-esque, and I love that. It's basically about the Princess and the Frog retelling, but like a twist on it, if that makes sense. Something about like the princess has like an evil stepfather who's trying to kill her, so she has to end up going on this journey with a talking dog. Yeah, a talking dog, a boy thief, trapped in the body of a new and some extraordinary mischievous wizard, and she goes off on a quest, and basically she doesn't want to get married and blah blah blah. It just seems really cute. It's middle grade, and it says 50% fairy tale, 50% fantasy, and 100% pure enjoyment. So I hope I 100% pure enjoy this. I have the audiobook for this through my library as well, so it is pretty short. So if I do end up finishing the entire Murderbot series on audio, it's possible that I could also pick this one up because it is quick, and I do like those short reads right now, so I can feel like I'm accomplishing something. That is my TBR for the upcoming months of spring into summer. They may extend into summer as well. I don't know. Just know these are the books I'm currently excited about. And I hope to get to most of them, but like I said, those last ones are like a maybe. But yeah, let me know what you're reading down below. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to see if I actually go through and read these in the future. If you would like to see more in depth about what I'm currently reading, what I'm currently excited about, my Goodreads is linked in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day or night and your next book is a joy and just surprises you in the best of ways. And I will see you in the next one.
I feel out of place. The roads aren't the same like they were.